Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 18th meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners, the name of the budget hearing. I need to open the agenda. Everybody in favor? Okay. Let's please salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So that brings us to the budget hearing. And we're going to have Jamie discuss, anything you want to discuss about the budget, or we?
I'll just point out.
Summarize.
Yeah, I'll just summarize what we've done. So tonight the board is going to approve our 2023 budget. We held a budget workshop on September 7th, which was open to the public, where we discussed the needs of the district, methods for potentially funding. A budget was presented that night in proposed form. We then held a meeting on September 27th, where the budget that we reviewed was identical to the budget from the budget workshop, with the exception of one item that had been increased for our New York State retirement costs, because we had received information in between those two times that it was going to be higher than we expected. That budget was adopted as a proposed budget on September 27th. The budget has 79 paid firefighters and officers. And the total tax levy was $19,816,022.50 for a total budget of $19,837,022.50. So there have not been any changes between now and then that have been requested to make. So that is the budget that's up for discussion this evening by the public and the board, and ultimately for adoption by the board. This budget will exceed the tax cap. So as drafted, the board will need to pass a resolution to override the real property tax cap first and then approve the final budget. If there's any detail you want me to go into, otherwise, like I said, it's, we've reviewed it the last two meetings, so there's nothing different at this time.
Okay.
The only question I have is, so the increase is 10%, but if the board goes with the ladder and pays for the ladder, then it's 18% or 19%,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So does that have to be reconciled tonight?
Yes. This is the budget.
Yeah.
The budget you adopt tonight is the budget. So if you want it, you can do that, but that ultimately has to be, it's now.
But that's not 10%. We just want to make sure everybody understands the numbers. That's 18%.
Yes, if you were adding in the ladder truck to pay for it outright, right now, you would need about an 18% increase.
Which is the least expensive way of purchasing it.
Yes, because there's no financing cost.
18%.
Yes.
Okay.
Board discussion? I'm not in favor of increasing the budget more than the 10%. I'd rather finance it and spread that over 5 years, in my opinion. Others feel, and that's,
I think that's the best way to do it. So this way, it's over a 5-year period. It's not, the taxpayers won't be getting hit all at once. It's bad enough that we have to increase the budget almost 10%. It's not something that we take lightly, and we realize it's going to be a burden on some people, but it's been thrown upon us basically by the inaction of previous boards over the course of numerous years, who they knew there were problems that had to be rectified. Instead of rectifying it properly, they sought to do some temporary repairs, and now those temporary repairs are obsolete, and it has to be replaced. So we are forced to, like I said at the Bronxville Village Board meeting, we're forced to do Station 4 in Chester Heights, the apparatus floor, as well as the rest of the house. Same thing is going to have to be done to Station 3 in Bronxville, because it's shoring in the basement now that's been there for 15 years. And the insurance company won't even insure it anymore because it's been too long. So we're forced to do it. You know, we have to have these expenses as well as buying equipment, emergency equipment and apparatus and all that kind of stuff, you know. It's the cost of doing business, we have to do it.
So the 18%, Jamie, does not include what Paul Roundlone is talking about now, which is construction on the firehouses.
No, there's not,
Right.
right, that's not.
Which arguably could be an increase of 50 or 60 or 70% in the next 5 or 6 years, given the numbers that it costs, even just on Chester Heights. The public should know that. They just need to know. If you plan on, the majority of the board plans on renovating all the firehouses, this increase is not going to be a $23 million budget, which is just about to happen after you guys vote on it. It's going to be a 30 or 35 or $40 million budget, and that they should know that.
I don't know how you get that number.
The construction on Chester Heights alone is...
So that's just the Heights. I mean, right now, Bronx, we've got some quotes on Bronxville. We're looking at what, 30, 40, 30,
Well,
40?
that's to do
Just for the
the
floor.
engineering drawing, that's not to do the work.
So just the drawers alone are 40 grand.
34 or something, yeah, 34 and change.
But we don't know, we don't know what's...
I'm basing it on Chester Heights, and Chester Heights is upwards of $4 million now since they started to do the work. $3.5 million. I don't know the exact number,
Yeah.
but it's in the millions.
Yeah, but
So-
not, I think we're
A
up
lot of that has been paid
over-
for. The roofs, the exterior, the windows, and even this part of the project, we've been paying as the work has been completed.
Right, or we will be close to
So-
2 million by the time we get through even this phase, certainly the next phase. That's.
Right. I
that's-
guess we'll find out what the issues are with Bronxville and Tuckahoe and and Main Street, which probably needs the work more than any place, right? So
Right. I mean,
what would it cost to do? I think Commissioner Roach went and looked at one for reconstruction of this building. It was in
We looked at the firehouse.
$20 million
in
or
Bronx,
something.
I mean, in Yonkers.
Right.
what was the number
That
they
one
spent?
firehouse, $15 million. But that one firehouse would accommodate our whole department. You know, it's got 4 bays. At any one time, there are approximately 30 people working there. And, you know, if you want to do that, we can have one big firehouse in the center of town. And that'll solve a lot of our problems.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I'm letting the taxpayers know that this is going to cost. I'm just letting them know that it's just not a 9% or 10% tonight. It's really 18% tonight, plus whatever you start to do in Bronxville.
Commissioner, it's not 18% tonight. The cost of the apparatus is going to be spread out over 5 years. So it's not, we're not raising the budget 18% tonight.
Well, effectively you are, because you're buying it, right? You're spreading it out. You're going to run the numbers up higher next year while you have the $2 million being paid lockstep at a higher amount. It's going to cost the taxpayers more money to buy that ladder over a 5-year period. I don't know what the number is. Will it cost us $300,000 more? $400,000 more? That's $400,000 that can go back, that could be used for the fire department.
So
If
you're
that's
saying you
what
want us
the
to pay cash for it right now?
well, I just want you to be honest with the taxpayers and say, you have the power to levy, right? The 3 of you make a decision and say, hey, I'm going to do this. The increase is 18%.
Will you vote yes on it?
No.
Of course, so why bother talking about it?
Well, that's my job. I'm a
I know, well, we're
fiduciary.
going to do 10% tonight, and we're going to see how next year brains and the year after that brains, but
You-
I don't want to go crazy and all of a sudden think that, okay, 4 years from now, we're going to be at $35, $40 million.
Well, there is that potential.
There is a potential, right? Well, we're going to have to curtail something. I mean, the Station 1 needs work, but can it last the way it is for the next 5 years? Probably. But let's do one thing at a time. You're jumping way ahead.
But I just want the
Honestly,
taxpayers.
I'm willing with the fact that this is all going to cost money, and we don't like to raise it 10% every year, but if we did it 10% every year for the next 5 years, we're going to be close to $30 million probably.
I'm for the for the firefighters having the equipment that keeps them safe, keeps the taxpayers safe, keeps everybody safe. I don't want them going to any place where they can risk their lives.
Well, of course not.
However, I also don't want you to borrow. What's the next borrowing thing? Just tell the taxpayers it cost me $2 million for the ladder.
Hopefully, we won't have to borrow, and we wouldn't be borrowing now if prior boards weren't passing 0%, 2% increases and eating up our reserves with operational costs. So that's why we have no money, because no one wanted to pass.
2 years ago, I voted for a
budget.
0% increase because there was $3+ million.
That was there for a reason.
Can I finish speaking?
Yeah, sure,
thank
sure.
you. Because there's $3+ million sitting in the till doing nothing that you're keeping from the taxpayers that you've asked them for, and they're just had sitting there.
And we could use that for a ladder truck.
So we used it over these last 2 years, most of which has gone to overtime born out of absences. We have a firefighter calling in sick every single day of the year. They only have to come in 75 days of the year. They somehow call in sick on that very 4th and a half day. It's wrong. It's wrong.
It may be wrong. I don't. You think it's a company-wide abuse that's going on?
You don't have to take it from me. Jamie is here.
I know Jamie's here. Yes, I know.
Let me just finish. We can foil. I see the head of the union's laughing at this. We can foil the absences. You don't even have to give the person's name and say January 1 absence, January 2 absence, January 3 absence. I'm from a family of firefighters. I'm happy to pay for this. But I'm not happy to pay for someone calling in sick all the time. We can't have the sickliest fire department
We have a
in
1
the
to
state.
2% sick rate. So stop saying that the sickliest fire department, because it's not
We can
true.
foil.
I have foiled it. I know the numbers.
We can foil it.
Foil all you want.
The residents-
And tell the residents the truth.
I'm telling the truth. If you say,
You're not.
you're welcome to say I'm lying. Go
You're
ahead.
lying.
I'm not lying.
You're absolutely lying.
We have absences every single day. I had my chief in public say
How many people never call in sick? 30 or 40? So stop saying they call in sick every 4th tour.
You have
It's
to-
not true.
You have to show up every 4.5 days, Steve. It just doesn't happen. I have a chief who's been in the fire department for 40+ years, says we have an absence problem.
Who?
He is the head.
Who says this?
This is our chief.
You have an absence problem here?
I said certain people call in sick above average than others. So there is an issue with certain people. And, I've counseled those people, and, hopefully things will change.
Yeah, but it's not the department, as he said.
We have 74 people, and,
We look at this as a department.
Very few incidents of what I feel is any sort of sick leave abuse. But there are some people that do take, more than average.
I agree with you, and that happens in every department, whether it's firemen, police, custodial staff, office staff. You have that in every single department. But I go along with firefighter Ranalone to say that this is a sickly department. That's not right, Commissioner, to say that.
The numbers are there. All we have to do is
As
foil
the
it.
chief said, certain individuals, yes.
The numbers are
do
there.
have that, but to
I'm
say
not
that
looking- I'm not looking-
The department is sickly, I find that offensive.
You can. I could
do.
tell you what, though. I'm from a family of firefighters. I'm supporting my chief.
I'm supporting
To
the chief.
to
too,
the very
but he
end.
said it just
And I don't
now.
care what the
There's
union
certain
says.
individuals. That's what he said, there's certain individuals.
My
But
chief says there's an absence problem.
I didn't
There's
hear
an
the
absence
chief-
problem.
I didn't hear the chief say it's a sickly department. I did not hear the chief say
I
that.
said that there are very few members that call out above average. Every member that calls in sick has to touch base with the department doctor. If they have COVID symptoms, they do telemedicine. If they don't have
You have to go
COVID
into
symptoms-
it. There are issues.
But we do have a department doctor that interviews telemedicine or in person the patient, and she gives me a report that says this illness is founded or unfounded. And in 4.5 years that we've been using this urgent care, only one time out of every single year, there was one person that admitted that they had a family crisis and they weren't able to come
We
in.
don't have to go into details.
So that
This
person-
is what I'm happy to do. And sorry, Chief, I
That
didn't mean
day
to
was
interrupt.
taken back, so.
I will ask Jamie to give me every absence. You want to pick this year, or you want to go back the last decade? I'm happy to do that. I won't take offense at being called a liar. It's all about the numbers. It's on paper, and we can do that.
I still didn't hear the chief say the department is a sickly department. I didn't hear him say that the department is a sickly department, like you just said,
I
Commissioner.
wouldn't say that.
No, he hasn't. He didn't say that. He
I-
said there's
you
an
said
absence.
it.
That's right.
You said, it, and you
Chi-
believe that?
The chief told me there's an
You
absence
believe
problem.
the department's a sickly
Are
department?
you going to ask me a question and let
Yeah,
me
I'm
finish?
asking you.
Okay. Yes, I do this. I do believe there's an absence problem.
I'm
and
sorry,
you, and
I
you
don't
are
believe
watching
that.
the emails every day come in with the firefighters calling in sick just about every day, and you're sitting there watching them, and you refuse to do anything about it.
I didn't refuse to do anything about it because I don't see the same individual every single day calling in sick like you said. And I still say that's offensive to say this department is a sickly department. It's not. Sure, you have men that are sick. Any job has that, Commissioner, but to say the department is sickly is wrong.
We have an
That's
absence.
all I'm saying.
We have an absence problem, and we could file the numbers. We don't have to give badge numbers. We would just pick the dates. And the public should know firefighters have to come in once every 4.5 days. Is that accurate?
Well, they have 24-hour tours and they have 72 hours off. So
Okay.
they work 24 hours and then they're off for 3 days.
So once or every 4 days, they have to be here.
They work every 4 days.
Okay. So actually, when you call in sick, you're calling in sick for 24 hours, right? It's actually a lot more time. So, and it just happened to hit on that day.
And after you foil this, what are we proving to the public?
Well,
we put a sickly
just
department.
that we have an absence problem still, and it has caused the $3 million that you were talking about that I said let's use. Let's not hold on to the taxpayers' money. Let's start to use their money instead of holding it in this well, right? Let's use it. We did, and a lot of it went towards the overtime.
Your inaction on leaving 10 spots vacant led to the overtime. So admit your inaction led to that expense.
I think I've hired every time.
There were 10 empty
we
spots for a year.
We just
For a
hired.
year.
We hired.
Just.
No.
For a year you didn't do anything.
Every time you asked to hire, we hired.
I spent my first year on this department hearing how much overtime was spent, and just like Firefighter Randall said, there were 10 empty slots that weren't filled. So anytime anybody called in sick, it was overtime.
You have to call in sick
Yeah.
to be overtime. There's overtime without calling in sick.
That's true.
People
That's
were on
right.
vacation or
That's
whatever
right.
else.
That's true.
So anytime anybody was off, there was overtime, because there were no relief men.
Our overtime this year, 1.2 million.
And it's always going to be, from my understanding, around 750 or 800,000 every year, no matter what.
Well, the chief says no if we have enough
I
guys.
think one time I asked the chief, and I said, "What's overtime typically under normal circumstances?" It's $800,000.
What's
So
our staff right now? Sorry, Paul.
that's it.
What's our staff now? Are we at full capacity, Jamie, or just about?
Well, with the people that are in the academy, yes.
Well, no, we have a teeter spot.
Right, but,
So that's a
well,
vacant spot.
okay, yes. Based on our past circumstance, yes. So we're short,
Close to yeah,
One,
although we do
Cl-
have an extra lieutenant.
close to.
how many you short, Jamie? One man?
Like one spot that's not full,
Okay.
that's not filled, yes.
Okay.
That we couldn't do because of the timing. That we
Yes,
could.
that we
Okay.
did
Okay.
try- we did
So
try.
let me just Steve doesn't get too agitated with me. So full capacity, overtime 1.2 million. Last year 1.2 million. It's not going
You're
down.
in full capacity this year. You just hired.
I got-
Those people
Right,
just
as
got
of
out of the
September.
academy.
I understand.
and
I got-
don't, you know.
I got right now I have full capacity.
No, you have
With
four,
four
you have
people in the
4 in the
academy.
academy right now.
That's to
There's
me.
4
full-
empty slots.
I
Yeah,
can't get
if
them
you
here
told-
any sooner.
if you told me
If
that,
you wanted to
if you
transfer
look-
more firefighters, would have cost the taxpayer less. We could have done that.
Transfer more firefighters.
Yeah, instead of going with the
If-
waiting all year to
if-
get
if
to the
after-
academy.
If this time next year you said to me, hey, we're full force and we still got 1.2 overtime, I'd say you got a valid point. But you're not even giving a chance for these guys to come in on the job, or the new guys that come on the job in, say, a few months. So you keep harping about the overtime. Let it run its course.
Fine.
Let's see how it looks a year from now, or even next summer.
Hire the 5 new firefighters.
see.
I don't think you've accounted for it. I have the president of the union last year saying, is it inaccurate to say we don't have any fires? But
No.
he himself said in public, we have very little fires.
I didn't say that.
But that's
Take
good,
it
isn't
out of
it?
context what I
But
said.
isn't that good? You want fires?
I don't want any fires.
Okay, so what's wrong with that?
I'm happy to support this whole thing. I
Right,
just
so-
want the firefighters to not be
Yeah,
absent.
but you can't say we don't have no fires. You don't know what's gonna happen in 10 minutes from now.
But you know what,
You can't say
That's true.
something like
Insurance
that.
policy.
Correct. It is an insurance
But the
policy.
fact remains
But
also-
at the same time, it doesn't have to be as costly of an insurance policy. And you do look for better prices on your insurance. I'm sure you do, right?
No, I stick with what works.
But I can, if you still think I'm lying, I can get you the
Get
absences.
it. Get it.
Please get
Get it.
it.
And we'll go over it in public.
Please get it. And we'll get it. And I will get it. And I'll ask Jamie to get it. And I'll sit here and go over every single day. I'm watching them every day. I've done everything. I've begged for it to stop. And it won't stop.
Begging people not to get sick doesn't work, unfortunately.
How many times you call in sick in 30 years?
Never.
Thank you. Asked and
I'm a
answered.
lucky guy.
I don't think so. 30 years, you haven't missed a day of work.
That's right.
I think you just reinforced my argument.
How many people in the world could say that?
I think you
Not
just
many.
I think you just reinforced my argument.
No, I didn't. I proved I'm a rarity.
How many people going to school get a attendance award for never being absent or tardy for the school year? Exactly. 1 out of 100.
Excuse me. I don't know. I'm not a school teacher. I'm not the attendance teacher, but I am a fiduciary watching the emails come in about absences.
Okay, but,
And you obviously do not care.
well, okay, that being said, if their contract allows them, I'm sorry, just to verify, Steve, 10 days a year?
Yeah.
Okay, there's gonna be a couple of guys out there, I'm sure there's a few bad seeds, whatever you wanna call them, 2 or 3 guys that are gonna call in sick 10 times a year. How do you plan to fix that?
But let me just say this. You get 10 sick days, right? If you're sick.
Regardless, guys may call in sick 10 times.
You have to be sick for the
In
10
theory,
days, right?
In theory, but they can call in sick, call the doctor.
The
say, "I don't
contract
feel well."
isn't 10 sick days and you can just go out shopping at the supermarket or
I'm not
put out
saying-
your
I'm not saying
Halloween
it is.
decorations.
The
or
guy calls
Christmas-
in 10 times a year, stays home, calls the doctor, I don't feel well. How do you want to correct that?
Am I wrong about that? You get 10
That'd be
sick
realistic.
days. You get 10 sick days.
That'd be realistic.
It's for being sick.
days.
Up to 10
But
sick
you have to use them when you're sick.
Yeah,
But
okay.
working
Thank you.
there,
Thank you.
All right, so
most of the
that
people
guy
that
calls
are
in
out
sick.
more than 10 days have had surgery and are out for 3 or 4
No, no,
months.
I'm not talking
But
about
those
that.
are people out on absence.
One
sick
sick
leave.
day. I think Steve will agree with this. One sick day. Even though you get 10, one sick day, you have to be sick that day.
Yes, those are sick days are law. People understand.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so,
We agree on that.
Okay, so let's just do the numbers and just show the absence. You don't have to listen to me. I'm happy to say sorry if I'm wrong.
so you're saying guys.
But let's
aren't-
just get the numbers.
Are you
You
saying-
go through the list.
Are you,
Show me the person that wasn't sick. That's what you have to prove to me.
I'm not going to prove
Show
anything.
me the person
I
that,
don't.
that called in sick and wasn't sick.
I mean, I don't have
Show
to.
me that person.
I don't have to prove. Well,
Okay. Then they're.
We had an investigator.
Then sick is legitimate.
We had
If
an
they weren't-
investigator.
If they were sick, it's legitimate.
we had an investigator and we found that people weren't sick.
One.
one person.
One. And he readily admitted to it.
Okay.
One
so
person. Okay, that's driving the 1.2 million?
I'm not going to check on them. It's not my job.
No, yeah, okay. So the fact is, they can call in sick. You want to prove they're not sick?
Jamie, do you have the information right here about absences for this year? Just like one by one by one, without the person's name, without the person's badge number?
I mean, I have it on my computer.
If it does, you know what, let's just hold off for a second, but we can get that. I'll have to go through the list though and say each day.
And call the doctor and see if they reported it to the doctor. If the doctor said they were sick and they could stay home. Complete your investigation.
I agree with that.
Any more board discussion?
I haven't called in sick either, Steve, just so you know. I'm working on your 30 years. If I beat it, I'll let you know. I have to go to work every day.
You should have been a fireman.
Saturday.
Not calling in sick to work 8 hours behind a desk is one thing. To work in a firehouse for 24 hours with a bunch of other people is another thing.
I work 20 hours a day, Monday through Sunday.
That's great. From where? Home?
Doesn't matter.
I can work from home too. But when you're a firefighter, you have to be in the firehouse. And then if you're not going to feel well for 24 hours, then they shouldn't be coming into work.
Do you question any of the absences at all?
Yes, I have a question on some of the absences.
Okay.
On very few of the absences.
I haven't heard you
Am I going
voice
to
it.
blame 75 guys?
I am not blaming 75 guys.
Okay. Am I going to blame 20 guys?
I don't know. I'm
No.
asking you. I haven't heard you voice your opinion on that. You're the one getting the emails too.
If a person is not sick, they shouldn't be calling in sick. If a person is sick, they should definitely take off, especially during COVID. I mean, it's all I heard, like I said before. So many guys, the overtime is going up through the roof because so many guys are calling in sick. Yeah, we're in the middle of COVID and we have no relief men available, 10 empty spots, and you wonder why there's so much overtime.
I'm not wondering
Half the
why. I know
country
why
was
there's.
sick.
I am not wondering why there's
The
overtime.
whole was sick.
I know why
The
there's
whole world was sick.
overtime.
It wasn't the country, or it wasn't just this firehouse that was sick. The whole world was sick, Commissioner. And if John Jones calls into the chief and says, "I don't feel good. My head's not feels like it's flooded with water, and I know I'm having aches and pains," that's we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's the flu, the COVID, or anything. But the man is sick. You got to take his word. So he calls the doctor, like firefighter Ranelon said. He calls the doctor. Now you got to make sure you prove it from the doctor that he's sick. So you're going to be here a long time.
Thanks, Chief.
You're going to be here a long time reviewing all those sick calls.
They don't want me doing it.
You said you wanted to go over it with Jamie. Firefighter Ranelon says he'd be glad to go over it with you too.
I want everybody to come to work.
So do I.
It's not gonna
Thank
happen.
God. I hope everybody
It's
goes
not
to
gonna
work.
happen.
Paul Carlo, our chairman, says it's not going
It's
to happen.
because they get sick.
I understand.
All right, so what you're saying? So you're saying they're not sick. You're saying they're lying. They're taking days off. I'm gonna take a mental health day today. I don't feel like going in. Screw that. I'm not calling sick. Tell the doctor I don't feel well. I'm gonna stay home. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not getting the reports. I don't know what's going on.
You can't. You'll never be able to prove otherwise. So what do you want to do?
I want them to. What do I want to do? I want them to come
Okay,
to
they're not going to.
work.
You're never going to have 100. You're never going to have 100% attendance year round. Never.
good job.
What do you expect to be? What's going to make you happy?
I need
A
75 Steve Brown loans.
Okay, well, you know what? Then you're in a fantasy world. That's not going to happen. So, all right. So I think we're done with board discussion, public discussion.
Yeah, that
I
was
have-
related to the $3 million. I didn't bring that up, but
Well,
do you want
I
to
know,
know why
yeah.
we
We
gave
didn't-
past the 0% increase?
We allocated
we're sitting on
$800,000
$3.5.
overtime, borrowed $400,000. That's not $3 million.
I understand, but you want to know why we passed the 0% budget, because we didn't need to go further, and we're sitting on
You always need to have an increase.
3.5.
There should always be an increase. There never should be zero increase. Why? Things cost money. Things go up.
We're into
we have salary increases.
Hold on.
Why would you do zero?
We're into almost 3 years of using that $3 million that we didn't have to
And
ask
what
the
we raised the budget
taxpayer.
in 3 years? 2%? You have 20% alone on salary increase. 3 years, that's 7.5%. Where's that money coming from? Reserves?
We had $3.5 million in reserves.
It's not meant for operational costs.
We had $3.5 million.
It's not meant for operational costs, and you must be using it on.
That's why I voted 0%.
Okay, well that's
So
where we are today, at 10%.
We asked the taxpayers for $3.5 million and left it there and did nothing with it.
Well, we could have bought a truck with it.
We could have. We should have.
Yeah, well, you know.
And you should pay for it instead of trying to pay for it over 5 years. That's the whole point of having
No,
the.
we're going to spread that out. Let the people.
The majority of the board is entitled to vote the way they
They
want.
can vote whatever they want. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I agree.
Can I ask a question as this being a taxpayer? If this whole house was sick with COVID, and you had to tell the public, we're gonna close headquarters, because everybody's sick, including the chief, and the back room, the ladies that work here, do you think the public would say, there's no fire protection? They're gonna tell you, well, bring other people in, mandate overtime. You know, you can't, in the industry today, there are people that call in sick. If there wasn't sick time, they would tell you, we're hiring you, there's no sick time. And if you call out sick, you won't get paid. But in the industry, people get paid for sick. There are posters up in corporations and it says, if you are not feeling well and think you may have COVID, stay home because you're going to give it to your fellow workers or co-workers. I mean, we're going over something that makes really no sense. If your child is sick, would you put him on the bus to go to school to make other children sick? If I was a child and you knew I was sick, would you send your child to school on the school bus with me, knowing that I might have COVID, or knowing I may have a fever, or have the measles, or chickenpox, or the mumps? It's the same thing. You can't prevent it. It's like putting a nail in the wall. Once it's in the wall, it's in the wall. You know, I mean, we're going over something that cannot be prevented. It happens. It happens in the industry. When COVID attacked here, look at New York City. Their manpower was stripped. And there was things that happened that the public didn't know. Crime went up. There was uncoverage of certain areas. Both sanitation, PD, firefighters. School teachers didn't want to come to work. Things happen. That's why we put erasers on pencils. You keep talking about this, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, we got to. If he brings it up, though, Mike, we have to answer those questions. You should be happy that we're vetting this stuff as a taxpayer.
But you know what's going to happen? You own a corporation. You own a corporation. I'm not looking to get into your business. If you had employees working for you and they called out sick, or they came to work, what do you say to them? What are you doing here? You got COVID? You know, you can't do this. I mean, you gotta move forward with the times.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
as a taxpayer, my name is Michael Parisi.
Well, as part of our public discussion, Michael, I've got a letter here from another public individual that would like to read out to the public and board, dated October 17th. I am sorry I could not be at your meeting this evening, but I have been in an accident and will have surgery on Thursday for a broken ankle. I ask that this be read into the minutes of tonight's meeting, and I thank you for doing that. I watched your last meeting and discussion about the new budget with great consternation. I understand that you will adopt this budget tonight, and unless something is changed, it sounds as if though every Eastchester taxpayer will have their fire taxes increased by 10% in the coming year. It also sounds as though you'll be borrowing another $2 million, meaning that the debt service on that borrowing will be part of an annual increase as we move forward. Westchester County executives for many years have managed to present their budgets without increases anywhere near 10%. The town of Eastchester has not blown through the 2% tax cap for as long as I can remember. Neither have the village governments of Tuckahoe or Bronxville felt the need to surpass the 2% tax cap. Finally, none of the school budgets in Eastchester, Tuckahoe or Bronxville have ever asked their voters to disregard the 2% tax cap. And so the county can run in their parks, roads, police, buses, courts, elections, and everything else. And our town, villages, and schools can provide police, public works, roads, courts, building departments, tax collections, and educating our children, all within 2% tax cap. And yet, the Eastchester Fire Department requires a 10% increase. What is wrong with this picture? To add insult to injury, the tenor of the last meeting led this viewer to believe that your board felt no compelling reason to assure Eastchester residents that this unconscionable 10% increase would simply be an unfortunate one-off. I was extremely uneasy that we would be seeing more of this in the future. Jeff Zuckerman, 24 Bronx Street, Tuckahoe.
As a taxpayer, can I say something? 10%
yeah.
of my fire tax is less than 2% of my school tax.
And I was going to say the same thing, Steve. The school tax, you get banged pretty hard with the school tax. No one blinks an eye. They pass bonds. My taxes go up quite a bit. 10% tax to me is about $13 a month, $15 a month. I'll take the 10% increase in order for us to do what we need to do. People are going, yes, 10% sounds horrible, but put it into dollars. It's nothing. And if $20 a month is going to be a problem for you, I apologize. I'm sorry, but we have to get stuff done here. We need money. Otherwise, you know what? I don't care. Don't do Bronxville. Close the firehouse down. Lay off some guys. It doesn't faze me. You guys do what you want to do, but it makes no sense. If for 10% you're going to bitch about 10%, I'm sorry. I have a hard time with that. It sucks. I get that, but you know what? We have no choice. That's how I look at it.
I feel the same way, Mr. Chairman.
10% is nothing. Give me a break. And you talk about Scarsdale, and I don't want to bring this up. Half the
You're just
size,
talking
I'll bring it up though, half the population of us, half the population.
They're not half.
No, they're half.
They
No
are not.
medical runs, $10 million budget.
They're not.
How's that a bargain?
They're 22,000.
No,
What's
they're
Eastchester?
20,000?
35,000? 33. Okay.
They're not
And they're
22,000.
22,000, right?
No,
I recently saw something like 22.
no medical.
And they cover 2 square miles more than Eastchester. They cover a larger area. They cover a larger area. And for those taxpayers who say to keep everybody protected and my property protected, I'm pretty sure Scarsdale has expensive property, and also they love their people and their friends
They're
and
spread
their
out.
kids and their family members and everybody
Well,
else
we love
too.
our people too.
6.2
Wait, nobody's denying that. The point
We love
is,
our people, too.
Scarsdale.
Show us all the big buildings that Scarsdale has compared to just what Eastchester on Mill Road has.
University,
Just what Eastchester has.
senior housing, Garth Road, hospital. What's Scarsdale got? Homes spread out over 6.2 acres. Really?
They cover 2 square miles
Okay.
more than all of
Yeah.
Eastchester.
And they have no EMT runs, not one. So how's
the
that?
fire
a bang-
department doesn't go around chasing EMT runs.
How's that a win for the so you're paying $10 million for fire protection? That's it?
Nobody here would be willing to look
Excuse
at
me
what's.
for a second.
Hold on, I'm going to
You're
finish.
talking about
I'm going to
EMS
finish.
calls.
I'm going to
Go
finish
ahead, go
speaking.
ahead.
You're welcome to speak after me. Paul has asked me a question. Nobody here has even been willing. I brought up Scarsdale when I first got on the board, the first month of, or the second month of 2020, and not a single commissioner had been even willing to talk about Scarsdale. Let's look at Scarsdale and then refute me as much as you can.
You're going to bring back the information to us. What do you want to look at Scarsdale about? What do you want to
I looked
study?
at Scarsdale. They're $10 million. They're less than half of our budget, covering 2 square miles
not doing anything.
more. They're not doing
What are they
anything.
doing?
They're
We're
covering.
doing 150 calls a month on EMT. What are they doing a month?
They don't do EMT
Oh, wait, so
runs.
so you get for $19 million. We're saving lives every day.
You don't.
150 calls.
That's the point.
No.
You don't think Scarsdale's saving lives?
Well, how many fires do they have?
How many fires do we have?
Well, what lives are they saving?
Hold on. I can ask the president of the union.
I don't count fires.
Okay.
So
Do you
they-
think that Scarsdale? How about this? You don't have to.
Scarsdale, I think municipality picks up part of their budget. It's not all fire tax.
It is. We
Scarsdale-
looked at this.
Scarsdale does not have a hospital. Scarsdale does not have a college. Does not have the, like the commissioner said, all the apartment buildings we have. So you can't compare Scarsdale to Eastchester, 2 completely different municipalities.
You want to look at Ossining?
No, let's get back on the budget where we were supposed to be working on. We're not talking about Scarsdale. Let's talk about.
I didn't bring up
I
Scarsdale.
brought it up.
Let's
So,
talk about
Our
the
chairman brought up
couple of months.
Scarsdale.
That's what we're here for.
so let's look at that. Was Jeff's letter.
Any more discussion on the budget from
All
anyone?
the public that arrived today, speak up. Oh, there's no one here.
Clearly, they're not too upset about it. So,
You know, you can't place a life on a budget, okay? I mean, if somebody dies in a fire,
God forbid.
God forbid, whether it be a civilian, a taxpayer, a firefighter, a family member coming from Chicago to visit somebody and spend a weekend in town, the roof would go off. You can't put a life on a budget. We all have insurance, protect what? Our property. It's a policy to protect your property.
it's a pretty cheap policy too, for that matter.
Right. But you can't bring somebody back who dies in a fire. There's no way of bringing anybody
Yeah, so
back.
the point is Scarsdale's not letting that happen, right?
But
To
you
the
know,
residents.
but
They're
you're
protecting
saying-
property.
But you're saying.
I'm sure as much as Eastchester, right?
But you're saying that.
And their residents too.
But you don't know that. You're saying that. I mean, as a taxpayer in town, and something is going on, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you want the fire, if there's a fire or an EMS call, you want qualified people there to assist and help you.
I'm sure Scarsdale has qualified people.
Not part of the $10 million,
But
though.
let me ask you, you say they have no EMS call, right?
They don't?
What happens when somebody is sick in the middle of the night? Who do they call? A taxi? Take them to the hospital?
No, they call emergency, the ambulance goes out.
What ambulance? Scarsdale volunteering, but they have an emergency, they have an ambulance that goes out, take those people to a hospital,
I agree.
okay?
Yeah,
What
I'm
do
pretty
we do?
sure.
What do we
Mike,
do when
how
somebody's-
will we do this? I'm pretty sure that Scarsdale is not leaving their residents in an unsafe place.
Okay,
Right.
you know what, what you're saying is fine, but we're not in Scarsdale, we're in
Right.
the town of Eastchester, the village of Tuckahoe, the village of Bronxville.
Right.
So let's stay where we are.
I'm fine with
Let's-
I'm fine with that, but I'm a fiduciary and I have to look at the budget. This is what you've elected me to do. At least 560 people did do that, and I don't want to let them down. In
Well,
fact, I'm not choosing those 560. I'm now here for the 35,000 people. And when this budget goes to 40 or 50 million dollars, you know what happens? People say, "Oh my God, how did that happen?" How did that happen? It happens all the time in this world. And you know what? Who's responsible for that? Well, the commissioners are responsible. How did they let it happen? Well, here's that moment where I say, this is how it happens. I'm trying to raise the issue in a very fair manner.
Well, this is how it happened to all the firehouses in the village of Tuckahoe, Bronxville, and the town of Eastchester. What happened? The ball fell down, people didn't take care of it, we put Band-Aids and plastic tape up on the wall, the building's gonna stay up, the floor is not gonna cave in.
I agree with you.
We're still running horse and wagons.
I agree with you.
And, you know, we have a stall outside where we have hay and we're feeding the horses. This is the modern age of technology.
I agree with you.
We gotta go forward.
I agree with you. I want to do those things.
gotta go
I don't want to leave with a bid, but I'd like to use some of that overtime money into fixing our firehouses, getting a boat for the firefighters that need it instead of having a boat sit there for 20 years that doesn't even work, getting an ATV with an attachment that can sit at the Columbus Day Fair and be right there for people, or on a trail over in California Ridge.
You think this is all because of OT? Is that what it is, really?
I think that overtime money can be infused back into the fire department.
It's a lot of overtime.
And all I'm asking is everybody come to work.
Okay, well, back to square one. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to close the
It's my
budget
job.
hearing. Good, and then I'll make a motion to close public discussion of the 2022 budget hearing and enter into a regular meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so on that note, I'm going to read a resolution to override the real property tax cap. Okay, resolution of the Board of Fire Commissioners override real property tax cap, whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Eastchester Fire District must adopt the proposed budget for 2023 and an estimate of the fund balances in preparation for the annual Fire District budget hearing, and did so in preparation for the budget hearing, and whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Eastchester Fire District held the annual Fire District budget hearing with notice to the public on October 18th, 2022, and whereas the Board has considered the proposed budget and comments received on the proposed budget on October 18th, 2022, and said budget hearing, and whereas the Board has determined that the financial needs of the Eastchester Fire District for fiscal year 2023 cannot be supported by a budget that would comply with the real property tax cap established pursuant to Section 3-C of the General Municipal Law, as the proposed budget for 2023 calls for a real property tax levy that will exceed the real property tax cap, permitting only a 3.8% increase with allowable carryover in said tax levy, and whereas Section 3-C of the General Municipal Law provides as follows: a local government may adopt a budget that requires a tax levy that is greater than the tax levy limit for the coming fiscal year, not including any levy necessary to support the expenditures pursuant to subparagraph I 1 through 4 of paragraph G of subdivision 2 of this section, only if the governing body of such local government first enacts by a vote of 60% of the total voting power of such body, a local law to override such limit for such coming fiscal year only, or in the case of a district or fire district, a resolution approved by a vote of 60% of the total voting power of such body to override such limit for such coming fiscal year only. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Eastchester Fire District Board of Fire Commissioners hereby approves a determination to override the real property tax cap for 2023 budget only in order to permit an annual real property tax levy that will exceed the real property tax cap, permitting only a 3.8% increase with allowable carryover in said tax levy, and result in a final annual district budget in the amount of $19,837,022, spot 50. And motion on the above resolution was offered by, I'll say Chairman Paul Carlo, seconded by
I'll second.
Paul Ranelone.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to vote, and upon roll call, the vote is as follows. Resolution of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Do we need to second page 2, Jamie?
You need to vote on that one first.
Okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
No.
Commissioner Carlin?
Yes.
Motion carried.
2, resolution of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Approve the final budget for 2023. Whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of each of the fire districts must adopt the proposed budget for 2023 and an estimate of fund balances in preparation for the annual fire district budget hearing, and did so in preparation for the budget hearing. And whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of the fire district, each of the fire district held the annual fire district budget hearing with notice to the public on October 18th, 2022. And whereas the board has considered the proposed budget and comments received on the proposed budget on October 18th, 2022 at said budget hearing. And whereas the board has determined that the financial needs of each of the fire districts for fiscal year 2023 cannot be supported by a budget that would comply with the real property tax cap established pursuant to Section 3-C of the General Municipal Law, as the proposed budget for 2023 calls for a real property tax levy that will exceed the real property tax cap, permitting only 3.8% increase with allowable carryover in said tax levy. And whereas Section 3-C of the General Municipal Law provides as follows: a local government may adopt a budget that requires a tax levy that is greater than the tax levy limit for the coming fiscal year, not including any levy necessary to support the expenditures pursuant to subparagraphs 1 through 4 of paragraph G of subdivision 2 of this section, only if the governing body of such local government first enacts, by a vote of 50% of the total voting power of such body, a local law to override such limit for such coming fiscal year only, or in the case of the district or fire district, a resolution approved by a vote of 60% of the total voting power of such body to override such limit for such coming fiscal year only. Whereas previously the Board of Fire Commissioners passed a resolution to override the real property tax cap for 2023 budget, now therefore it be resolved that each of the Board of Fire Commissioners hereby approves a final budget for each of the fire district for 2023 attached here to and made a part hereof in the amount of $19,837,022 spot 50, with a tax levy of $19,816,022 spot 50. Motion on the above resolution was offered by Paul Carlo, Chairman, seconded by Paul Ranalone. Adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote, and a call vote as follows.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
No.
Commissioner Carlin?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay. On to reports. Jamie.
Okay. All right, so a few items for tonight. One is I reached out to the board yesterday looking at our overtime spending through this coming payroll, which includes overtime through October 14th. We've expended approximately $955,000 of our $1,010,000 overtime budget, leaving us approximately $55,000 remaining in the budget. We have 5 payrolls left for the remainder of the year, plus our first payroll of 2023 will include some overtime from 2022. So I am recommending a budget transfer at this time. I am anticipating another $100,000. That should get us through the remainder of the year if we continue to run similarly to how we're running now for those remaining 5+ payrolls. The money could be transferred from uniform firefighter salary. So there is a motion should the board want to do that tonight. If not, we're scheduled to meet again on November 10th, which is kind of a quick turnaround. There's only one more pay between now and then. If you want to, reevaluate then, but the $55,000 that we have remaining, we're going to need a budget transfer, whether it's now or at the next meeting. Let's see. No updates with our Vinco. As far as Treasury Direct, as of today, we have $11 million invested in the 4-week Treasury bills. So we're getting to the point in the year where I will start to decrease the amount that we have in Treasury Direct. We were at $12 million. I just decreased it to $11 million. Our retirement bill will come due at the end of next month, and that's almost a $3 million bill itself. So I will continue to evaluate what our needs are and what cash we should have on hand as we look at reinvestments into Treasury Direct. Current rates are now up over 3%, which is the highest we've ever seen them. as compared to the 0.03% we were getting on JP Morgan. Interest earnings to date are approximately $70,000.
Have you looked at I-bonds? Are they there too, in the same?
We could look. It has to be. It just has to be short term.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we can look at different rates if that's. And then just a couple of other items now that we're through the budget. There was a letter circulated that was provided by PERMA, who is our workers' comp carrier. There is a bill pending in the Senate that will potentially have a negative impact on employers. It has to do with how workers' compensation is paid out. According to our, so PERMA is asking the board to submit a letter in opposition of this bill. They've reached out, I guess, to all their members. According to our attorneys, seems to be common throughout the state that there are, many businesses and carriers that are requesting these types of letters. The bill would provide that awards of compensation to be paid out at the employee's total rate, regardless of their percentage of disability. So it just what it means is that workers' comp awards will be paid out at higher dollar amounts. Our counsel said it might be less of a concern for someone in our position that pays 207A benefits, because since we're continuing to pay salary for our employees when they're out, we're the ones getting the reimbursement. So this would actually mean we would be getting higher reimbursements. I would just point out ultimately where this is going to impact you is that everyone's workers' comp premiums are going to go up if workers' comp has to start paying out more money. So that's the item for consideration. So I added that. There is a motion if any board member is interested. I guess if you don't want to send the letter requested by PERMA, there's nothing that needs to be done. If the board does want to send it, that's something.
No, I think I see a draft here. I think we should send it.
We should look at the total proposed bill.
And they
Paul,
and they also did
before you
provide
send a letter.
a sample letter you could use.
What's it to look at, Brian?
I would look at the whole bill to see the real ramifications, not just what they're telling us.
Well, to send a letter to say that you're like to go against
Got the majority of the
it's not
board, you
going
want to send it, send it. But
I mean-
I would hold off on seeing the total bill.
And the council has their opinion
Could
on
be
this, okay?
detrimental to the fire department if you signed off on it. Or maybe the taxpayer does better here,
Is that
as
possible?
as
I mean,
Jamie
but-
demonstrated.
Well, I mean, our council did say that it's less of a concern for a district like us that pays 207A benefits. So, it was the advice was, it's up to the board. It's not uncommon for a board to do something like this, and that that was their workers' comp expert said that he did make a comment. It's less of a concern to us.
Did they give a reason for us to sign off on sending the letter?
No, not, they're not, they sort of gave us, things to consider, not, yes, you should or no, you shouldn't. So that's one item. The other thing I wanted to talk about is adding some additional security measures to our JP Morgan accounts. We currently have something called positive pay. It's also now called check protection. We have 4 bank accounts at JP Morgan. We have 2 accounts that are check writing, 2 accounts that are not. We have this positive pay check protection on our payroll account where we really write a minimal amount of checks, although it did just come in handy because we, did find ourselves in a situation where, one of our checks was confiscated and washed, and luckily nothing happened. We were able to stop it because we had this level of security in place. I would like to add that to our accounts payable account, which is where we write the majority of our checks. Our other 2 accounts, which is really typically when we're not using Treasury Direct, the bulk of our money is in just like a general fund that we don't cut any checks out of. And then we also have the reserve money is always separate. That's down to just about $1 million now since we've been spending it, but that money always has to be kept separately. Those 2 accounts already have protections on them that no checks can be written. So if anyone was to ever try to forge a check with that account information, the bank wouldn't even consider cashing it. So that's already in place. So the additional items that we can put into place would be adding the positive pay check protection on our accounts payable account, And also there is an ACH debit block that we can add to each one of our accounts. And so that has to do with, again, if someone, every time you write a check, your account information is on that check. If someone then wanted to try to initiate an ACH, they would be blocked from doing that because we would have already told the bank, these are the only ACH IDs that are allowed to pull money from our accounts. So for instance, the retirement system, Ceridian, any of our vendors that we have an ACH relationship with, it's similar, works similar to Positive Pay. So the cost,
Who's offering the product?
well, they're all through JP Morgan.
Okay. The cost. Right.
So the costs are fairly minimal. The ACH debit block is $15 per month per account, so $60 total. The check protection Positive Pay is, they do this payee name verification. It's like 3 cents per check, and then anytime we do have an exception, so we have to go in and block a check, we pay $2 on that. We have earnings credit with JP Morgan, so any of these fees get offset against our earnings credit. So typically, we've never paid a bank fee since I've been here. It just gets offset against earnings credit. So it really shouldn't. It's a de minimis cost, I think, for the security, and also we don't actually pay out of pocket for it, at least at this time with the balances we carry. So unless there's any objections, I was going to add those services to our accounts.
Fine with me. Anybody else?
I have no problem.
Okay.
Commissioner?
I'm going to abstain from it.
And then just the last thing I have just to point out is I mentioned earlier our New York State retirement system bill should come in. I'm hopeful it comes in before our November 10th meeting. That meeting is a little early considering today is October 18th. And then I think our next meeting is not scheduled until the end of December. So I'm just bringing it up now because we historically take advantage of the prepaid discount. You get 2% for paying upfront by December 15th. We're anticipating, based on the estimate that's available, the bill will be $2,648,046. Again, like I said, I do hope that I have it for the board to actually approve at the next meeting, but if not, we may want to talk about either special meeting, or if you want to give me approval for that amount or a similar amount or something like that, so that we can continue to take advantage of that discount.
All right.
And that's it.
Okay, so on two of Jamie's items, I have a resolution here for the transfer. I'll read it if you guys can vote on it. Number 120-2022, motion to transfer funds to general ledger account 2413.1 overtime firefighters, which is predicted to exceed its currently budgeted amount from general ledger account 3410.15 uniform firefighter salary, the amount of $100,000. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
No.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks. Payment of bills, resolution number 121-2022, motion to pay the bills and vouchers as presented. The board has been supplied with one set of bills and one credit card bill for board approval. Chief Tween has reviewed all prior to the meeting, except tertiary claims and those specifically marked as reviewed by the treasurer. The treasurer requested the board approve the following. Warrant 1 dated 10/18/22 for 108,044.90. Credit card bill 10/18/22 for 527 spot 59 for a total of $108,572.49. I'll make a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
No.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks. Okay, chief report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening, everybody. The monthly activity report for September 2022. Total alarms, 332. Fire calls, fire-related 3. EMS or rescue, 165. And we gave mutual aid to Hartsdale Fire Department at one time. Vehicle maintenance continues through the use of outside vendors. Tim Dalton's weekly reports were emailed to the board on October 17th. That was for September. There's a copy and paste. It says July. I'll have to change that. Fire prevention and code enforcement activities continue with numerous plan reviews and inspections, and their report was emailed to the board on October 4th. This past week, October 9th through October 15th, was Fire Prevention Week in Canton. Tom Pinaval and the members have visited 2 public schools and 2 private schools, reaching over 750 children to spread fire safety information lessons. He has several schools that had to be rescheduled due to rainy weather last week, and he will visit 5 more schools in the next few weeks. He reaches all the young school-age children, and he does a great job providing fire safety information for the young kids. They get it while they're young, so lets them know what to do with when there's a fire in their home. Currently, 2 members are out on long-term absence, and the 4 probationary firefighters at the Career Fire Academy continue to do well. We have 2 live fire training days coming up later in October and 1 in November. And next week, we begin some technical rescue training. We're going to be doing rescue work off the 100 Columbus, which is a 10-story building. The guys are going to simulate getting a worker off the side of the building, putting him in a Stokes basket and lowering him to the ground. So that training is going to start, I believe, on October 24th, next Monday. I mentioned in last month's report that the fire district has eliminated using paper apparatus check reports, and the members are using their iPads and computers to record their apparatus checks. The software, the Vector Solution software, is up for renewal, and the board was forwarded the renewal quote on October 3rd. The renewal would be $8,674.52, and I request the board authorize me to renew the Vector Solution software, which has the Vector check reports in it. It also has training and training tracking software. Guys have been taking classes. They just log on to the system using their email, their login information, and they've been taking classes, fire safety and EMS type classes. I get emails every time somebody does a training class, so the guys have been using it, and it's been working out well. So I will ask the board to renew that. I also emailed the board a request from the captains for reimbursement for a recliner chair for their dorm room. The purchase was made at Costco, and the cost was $249.97, which is minus the tax that they paid. We do purchase the recliners for the firefighters in the day rooms in each firehouse, and I asked that the board would consider reimbursing the captains the cost of that chair minus the sales tax, so a total of $249.97 if the board is inclined to reimburse them. Westchester County Department of Human Resources will be holding a CPAT series beginning with orientation in December, time trials in January, and the CPAT in February. I would recommend the board consider participating because we still have about half the scores with a 90 that have not attended CPAT yet. So I would ask the board to ask Jamie or Isang to let the county know that we want to send people to the CPAT in December. On October 14th, the board was emailed a proposal from Highland Associates for moving forward with the Bronxville Firehouse floor replacement. The proposal is a lump sum fee for $34,500 for architectural and mechanical drawings for the removal and replacement of 75% of the floor in the Bronxville Firehouse, and that 75% of the floor is the part of the floor that supports the apparatus. I would request the board consider moving forward with the proposal, contingent on our attorneys, Coughlin and Gerhardt, review of the proposal. The reinstallation of the severed utilities when they have to cut electrical or plumbing, that is not included in the proposal, but it can be done by Highland Associates at their standard hourly rate in the attached proposal. So it has like different levels of professional services. It's like an a la carte menu, so that work can be added on for the drawings to reconnect the plumbing and electrical. And lastly, on October 14th, the board was emailed a proposal from Verizon for Fios internet and phone service. The monthly service is estimated to be $196.47, and once installed, the optimum service would be canceled in the 4 out firehouses, which are Station 2, Station 3, Station 4, and Station 5. We've had several issues with the optimum service affecting the IP station phones. The IP station phones run on the computers, internet, and LightPath says the issue with it is the internet connection. We've had Optimum out, and they've tried to resolve it. They say there's nothing wrong with their service, or the computers run fine, but the IP phones are getting blocked from sending out the digital signals over their internet. So I would like to switch the service to Fios. So I asked the board for permission to have Fios installed in the 4 outhouses and If it's available, they're still checking two of the stations to see if the FiOS is in the neighborhood, but I believe it is for that. And finally, I had a conversation with Commissioner Roche over the maintenance costs for the current emergency generators at the firehouses. He feels that the charges from GenServe are excessive, and he would like me to start looking into getting a new company to do the annual maintenance and repairs. The only thing I would ask, we have two issues. We have the Tucko Firehouse needs the antifreeze to be changed. That is a quote for $1,400. It's 6 hours of labor and the antifreeze and the parts and stuff. So I would ask the board to allow me to move forward with that repair, because we don't want the, if the antifreeze needs to be changed, let's do our research, which could take a few weeks or months to find another vendor to do our repairs. And there's also going to be approximately a $6,000 repair for the Chester Heights one. They've had an issue. They brought in a John Deere technician. So we already had like a $3,000 or $4,000 repair at that one. They recommend now that we change the fuel injectors. They're basically diesel motors that sit on top of a fuel tank, and they're John Deere diesel motors. And the John Deere technician that came is recommending that we change the fuel lines, the fuel rods, the fuel injectors for the diesel motor. I believe these are over 10 years old. As far as I know, I wasn't chief at the time they were installed, but I think they're about 10 or 15 years old. And they're big diesel motors, so they do need maintenance and they do need repairs over time. Again, Commissioner Rose thinks that we could get the repairs done cheaper, but I would like to get these ones like Chester Heights. It doesn't even run. Fortunately, we're not in that firehouse right now, but I would like to get everything back to operating condition. And then Tim and I will start researching to see if we can find a new company at a cheaper rate to do the maintenance and repairs. Or he suggested perhaps go out for requests for proposals like we did with the HVAC and electrical and things like that.
What is he basing why he thinks it's excessive?
I don't want to put words in his mouth. He's just, he's brought that up several times. When we come up for the annual.
You don't know why he's basing it on. Has he given you a reason why he's basing it on or not?
He feels that, why would it take them 6 hours to change the antifreeze? He doesn't understand the labor rate. I don't know. I don't know what it entails. As I tried to explain to him on the phone, I know, like when I used to change the antifreeze in my car, I'd remove the lower radiator hose, so it drains everything out of the radiator, but it also drains it out of the motor. So then when you refill it and you put the hose in and you don't start circulating till the thermostat opens up. So I don't know. I don't work on diesel motors.
Is GenServe or
We could end up paying more money, right, to somebody else.
I don't know.
So
Yeah.
just go get them fixed so we don't
I'd
take
like
any
to
chances.
move forward with
I
that.
can't.
Please
I can't,
do.
Just because someone feels 6 hours is too long, I can't.
No, just go get it fixed,
Is
chief.
GenServe, they're kind of one of the leaders in.
So that company we've been using, I think, since long before I've been chief, it was another company. Do you remember the name before? About 4 years ago, 3 years ago, the company changed from. So I guess they got bought out by a bigger company, and the new name is GenServe. Before that,
Is that the Power Performance?
yeah, Power PPI, Power
right.
Performance Industries, and they were based in Yonkers. Now this bigger company is based in Long Island, but they took over the local company that we used, and I believe that local company had been maintaining it for a while.
The antifreeze and the work at Chester Heights, right?
Yeah, so the fuel injector rods and all that kind of stuff. They said fuel rods and injectors and that kind of work. So they think it's going to be about, the quote was like $6,000.
And when would maintenance be done otherwise, like in January?
So we've already approved them to do the maintenance. The maintenance is either $500 or $600 depending on how many kilowatts. So I think our generators there's 3 of them that are 50 or 50 kilowatts. I don't have the quotes in front of me. And then 2 of them are like 60 kilowatts. So the bigger ones are like $600 a year for maintenance, which they change the oil, they test the antifreeze, they make sure it runs properly, they do diagnosis on if there's any error codes, but they will charge for any repairs. The maintenance does not include repairing anything. It just is like you bring your car in for an oil change,
Right.
They grease the hood hinges, that kind of stuff.
You can get your water pump changed, right? It costs you $150, but you have to take the engine out to do it, right? So the point is, just go get it Get it done.
Okay.
And if
then we'll
he
look
wants to
into
if he wants to
possibly
research
researching
afterwards,
other
right.
companies are going out for RFP. So that's the end of my report. So I did ask the board for a few things if you need.
All right, so we have it here. I mean, so I did want to discuss the Vector Solutions. That's an annual fee, right, Chief, of 8,000
Yeah, that would be for the next year to go from, I think it expires like November 30th. Let me see, I have it here.
Fine with me, the board. Any thoughts?
Sure.
So
Yeah, so the renewal would start on November 30th, 2022, and it would go for 1 year. And it's broken down into training for 75 members at $93.50 a member, so $7,012.50 for training. The maintenance fee, annual maintenance for Vector Solutions and Target Solutions, $395, and then the Vector Check-It for vehicles
I see
is
it.
$140.78 for 9 vehicles, which is the captain's vehicle and all the fire trucks, including the spares. So, that's $1,267.02 for a grand total of an annual renewal, $8,674.52.
I see. I'm good. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
You want to do the Costco chair?
Yeah, that's fine.
The captain's
Yeah.
chair was $249.97. It was a good price. Our current purchase.
You don't got to sell it, Chief. I'm good.
Okay, so the captains, Jamie can reimburse
Yep.
the captains for $249.97.
Not too much of an angle on the recline,
but
though.
less the tax.
Not too much of an angle.
I don't want them sleeping.
Although they could get some rest.
The next thing is the
Keep them solid
bios
for the next
four firehouses.
day's work.
So it'll be about $20 a month more than the optimum, but if our phones work, it'll be worth every penny.
I have FiOS. I have no problems with it, so I'm
So
fine.
it would be, the estimated monthly charges would be $196.91. And again, we don't need it at headquarters. We have a fiber optic feed here from LightPath. All the phones at headquarters are working fine. It's the off-premise phones that are not working properly. So it would be $196.91 for 4 firehouses.
I'm good. All in favor?
Mhm.
All right, good. And then lastly, Highland Associates for Bronxville.
Yeah, so the Highland Associates, let me just, I'll read the project description. So it says approximately 72 square feet of the existing concrete floor slab in the apparatus bay at the overhead door has experienced deterioration due to water infiltration. The deterioration is such that a temporary wood shoring system had to be installed to allow continued use of the firehouse. The fire district has decided that a permanent solution needs to be implemented. The solution includes the removal and replacement of 75% of the existing apparatus bay floor, the portion of the floor that houses the fire trucks. Since the apparatus bay floor will be removed, the existing walls and utilities in the basement beneath the floor will be demolished. Those are the old storage closets and the old union office. It's just metal studs. So they can be removed, and if we want to put offices or storage back down there, we
You
can do
okay with that,
once,
Steve?
once it's in. They've already been relocated to the Tuckahoe Firehouse.
You don't want those old cabinets back?
So it says during the removal and replacement of the apparatus floor, the firehouse will have to be temporarily out of service. So the scope of services for Highland Associates. Highland Associates proposes to provide the following scope of services for this project. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and structural engineering personnel will visit the firehouse to survey the basement to identify existing utilities that will need to be capped and removed within the area of the apparatus bay slab removal. So plumbing lines, heating lines, electrical lines that will have to be removed that are in the floor or hanging from the floor will have to be removed. Architectural and mechanical, electrical, and plumbing drawings addressing demolition of the basement walls and utilities, and then structural drawings for the replacement of the apparatus bay floor slab. The floor slab will be engineered to support a fire truck. The commissioner is so designated. The fees will be Highland Associates fees to complete the above scope of services is a lump sum of $34,500. Architectural and engineering services beyond those mentioned above will be billed in accordance with the attached rate schedule. Reimbursable expenses will be billed as per the accompanying document.
So if you look at page 3 and 4, it has the reimbursable expense schedule. So it talks about copiers, copies of drawings, mileage, tolls, parking, etc. And then the standard hourly rates are principals would be $210 per hour, project manager, senior project manager, $165 per hour, and so on and so on. So there's a list of all the costs so that what, if anything, that we wanted to add, as we found with Chester Heights, there's always stuff that may need to be added. They would be done at those costs, at those professional service hourly rates. So I'd ask the board permission to move forward with this, to sign off on it after having it reviewed by Coughlin and Gerhardt, and as long as they give it the blessing without changes, that I would be authorized to sign this and return it to Highland Associates. Unless the chairman wants to sign off on it, I don't care.
Either way, you have to whatever you
Okay.
want. I'm fine with it.
So I would ask the board to make a motion.
I make a motion for the chief to
Enter into.
enter the agreement with the Highland Associates to provide the spec work layout and the drawings
After
for,
reviewed by the council.
after review by council, for $34,500.
What's needed for Bronxville, right, chief? This is for what's needed.
This is the apparatus floor, yes. We could only repair the first 10 to 12 feet, but it can't support the fire truck that sits in there, right? It would only be support 38,000 feet, the original design load. So this is gonna strengthen the floor like we did in Chester Heights, so it could support a modern fire truck and future fire trucks. So instead of,
motion.
We'll call the roll. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
Yes.
Commissioner Carlin?
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you, commissioners.
Okay. Thank you. All right, now so that brings us to the exam survey for the assistant fire chief. The exam survey that we had, the survey that filled out, that reviewed,
To respond to the,
that was due last Friday, whatever, so.
Yes, and they gave us to give us an extension to respond. So we did tell them we wanted to sit for the assistant chief exam. So this is civil services requesting our input on what exams the fire district would like to participate in the upcoming year. So we said, yes, we want to participate in assistant chief, since we just reinstated that position. But it also asks whether we want to participate in the fire chief exam, the fire captain exam, and the fire lieutenant exam.
are we due for either captain or lieutenant?
No, I mean, not,
If not this year, then next year. I know one of them, they're like on an opposite schedule, right?
yes, we have lists for those positions. And last year, it seemed like there was a sentiment from the board that we want to participate every time an exam is given, even though understanding that, a new exam, the new list created doesn't come into effect until the previous list expires. So we do currently have good lists for captain and lieutenant. Fire chief, I'm not sure.
If
We have a
make
fire
assistant
chief.
Fire chief, aren't we gonna have
For a
to
while.
move up every position, captain, lieutenant?
So we made an extra lieutenant's position because Lieutenant D. Rienzo was going to be in the academy. So we actually have 11 lieutenants. We normally have 10. So we will need to make a new captain,
Okay,
and we
that's what
will
I'm saying.
make an assistant
So we're
chief.
gonna need the exam.
Well, no,
Well-
she's saying we have a valid
Right.
list. It's good for another year or two or
okay.
3.
All right, I didn't
Yeah.
say that, I'm sorry.
Right, so this is whether you want to participate in those exams in 2023.
I only want the assistant chief exam, so I think that's all we need.
I think didn't you guys vote on the position to be filled? And we have viable candidates right now, don't we?
They haven't taken a test. They've got to take a test.
Well, the thing is, there's a survey right now from civil service that I need to send back saying that the Eastchester Fire District does or does not want to participate in certain exams.
Understood.
Right, so it seems like the board is in agreement that we have to participate in the assistant chief exam because we've reinstated the position.
Will we have 2 candidates at least?
Well, so whoever gets appointed to assistant chief will be a provisional appointment. That person will then have to take the assistant chief test and become in the top 3. So if 5 people take it, they have to score in the top 3 to remain in that position. So, yeah, right?
I thought,
Yes.
pretty much
don't
how it
we
works?
have candidates who've taken the test?
No, we didn't offer that test because the position was gotten rid of in 2016.
Oh, I thought they took the test
So we have not participated
recently.
in the assistant chief's test. There have been chief tests We have a list for it, but not for the assistant chief.
Oh, interesting, okay.
So we can appoint somebody in December or January provisionally, and then when they take the test, what would it be? Probably in March or April?
That's when they were last year.
So March or April, they'll take the test. 2 or 3 or 4 months later, they'll get the results. As long as whoever we appointed provisionally scores in the top 3, they'll be able to keep that position. And then it'll be a probationary appointment, not provisional appointment.
Why are we waiting till December or January?
I think the board wanted to interview candidates. They were going to talk about that tonight, I thought. Didn't we
Yeah.
talk about sending out letters to the 6 captains? Because you have a captain in fire prevention and then the 5 suppression captains. So they wanted to send out letters and I think conduct interviews for the position. I believe, but I'm going to speak for the
Yep.
board. That's what I gathered.
Yes.
See, since you said that, Chief, then we have a motion here to,
Well, wait, so as it relates to the civil service survey, am I sending it back saying we only plan to participate in the assistant chief exam in 2023?
Yes.
Because we have valid lists for the other positions?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
then as far as the assistant chief spot, resolution 122-2022, motion to authorize the secretary to schedule interviews with 6 captains for a provisional appointment to assistant chief. That'll be effective for 1/1/2023. So you got that, Esai? And you can make it anytime, I guess, at headquarters or.
Sure, I'll send out an email just to confirm and get feedback about when it's preferred timing.
Okay, great. All right, so that leaves us down to a few last things. CPAP for February to 2023. We want to send folks to CPAP. We agreed on that?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. And then we have the foil for the VOA, VBA foil. It was added here, but I think Cheryl's working on that letter. Do you have a letter?
I think she provided it. I don't have it here tonight.
So we'll follow up with the
Do
attorney.
we have it? Do we have it?
I did not print a copy yet.
She
no.
provided it again.
She did have,
Because
okay,
we asked
so
it.
we're okay then. We're just taking that letter and just basically send it in.
I would just use the same one the last time and refresh what
Okay, so
the board did a few years ago.
a few years ago, it wasn't done. I think it wasn't done through council. The letter.
It was. Yeah, that's
Through
my
council?
understanding. Yeah, definitely.
I will have to circle back with Cheryl.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
I actually think she was the one who provided that info. And I think Dennis was the chairman at the time.
Yep.
Chief could probably knows better.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm sure it went through Coughlin and Gerhardt because, especially when they didn't get the foils, they had to do an Article 75 hearing, I think it was.
Right,
So
right.
we were definitely represented by Coughlin and Gerhardt. for that
Right,
whole
definitely,
process.
definitely.
I just have a couple follow-up questions. With respect to the assistant chief, we would also then need, I'm assuming, well, I don't want to assume, do you also want me to request the captain list? Like, are you planning to promote a captain at the same time you make a provisional assistant chief?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay, and when did you say you were planning?
That would be provisional also, right?
When does that list expire?
No,
Don't we have
that
That
would
would
be a
be
probationary
probationary.
because we have a valid
Yeah,
captain's
I'm
list.
sorry.
And how long is that good until, Chief?
I'm sorry?
How long is that good until?
The captain's list?
Yeah.
It's probably for another 2 years, I think, right?
Yes, I was going to say at least 2024.
Yeah, I think it through 2024.
Because the captains, that was one we took twice, so we actually have the 2 lists.
Right, when the first one expires, the other one will be good for like 1 year.
Yes.
Because they were given back-to-back years.
So just,
Yeah,
I
why
want to
not?
understand
Why
because you
not?
have to, like, when I request the captain list, I think it's only
Sure.
valid for 60
Why not?
days. So what are you,
Why
do you
not?
have a timing? Like when you're
Do it.
planning to appoint the assistant chief?
Effective 1/1.
Oh, that's, okay,
So
okay. And then with respect to participating in the CPAT, so this, the budget that we just passed tonight included 2 additional firefighter positions. So I will also be submitting LJ3s to create those positions with civil service. I just want to make sure that that part is clear because you need the positions open in order to be able to send candidates for those positions. So that's just an administrative. It's just.
But if we don't send them to those positions, is there anything that's bad?
Well, they only let you send 5 people per opening. So we have one from the person that's no longer with
Right.
the department, and then these 2 positions. So we'd be able to send at least 15 people to the CPAP with 3 open positions. And sometimes they'll let us throw a few extras, like if we only have a few more.
But
on
it
the
turns out
list.
it turns out we don't send anybody to the academy next spring.
Okay,
Let's say we decide to run short 2 guys, whatever.
okay.
Is there an issue with the CPAT thing?
No.
No, because that list is still good till the end of next year, so it'll probably be the fall academy as well.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Weren't you anticipating it won't be filled? The
You got
new list
enough
probably
already.
won't come out till
Enough.
Right,
September,
yeah, so
October.
so the firefighter exam is being given again in 2023, we think either in April or May. But typically, it takes until October for that list to come out with the new scores, which means the list we're operating off of right now will still likely be the list in play
For the fall academy.
Speaking of the exam, do we have on our website? We can have like other classes given, if like for.
So that was part of it too, and like, just briefly, the chief and I are in discussion about creating that type of material to share about, if they want to do test prep or anything like that. You're talking about for the civil service exam?
Yeah, I mean, is there prep work for them? Is there?
That's what we're working on, yeah.
Okay.
And so that was part of the initial goal when getting the Civic Send, that we could distribute that type of material easier and do a social media campaign along those lines. Again, for next year, they were saying potentially end of April or beginning of May for the exam. So, ideally in the new year, and something that can lead to an event like an open house, if the board has interest, we can kind of start working on that type of stuff to gauge interest and also provide them resources if they're interested in taking it.
Actually, I blew past you. I apologize.
Okay, no worries. I would speak very briefly today.
So we're good. We're good, Jamie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Your report, Isam.
I would.
That was it?
That'd be good. Yeah, and I shared it also online.
You
so
got your answer for the
apologies.
captain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jamie.
She's got. I think
Okay.
she has that. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Last was I think Commissioner Roach's website stipend. I don't know why it's even on the agenda. Quite frankly, I think we discussed privately.
Why don't we wait till he comes to
Maybe
the?
we should, yeah, we're gonna leave it-
Why don't we wait till
let's leave it
since
on
he's
it.
suggesting it
Yep. Let's leave it on there till next one. We'll deal with it in November.
when he
So
shows
leave it,
up.
leave it on the.
We can have a special meeting for him to come.
That'd be great. Thanks, Brian.
Just make it easy.
Yeah, it does. So I think that's everything I have on my side.
Regarding that perma letter, you didn't vote on that.
No,
so
I
you
think,
don't-
Mr. Commissioner, you said, maybe we should just look at
Okay.
it real closely.
No problem.
We should.
I don't think
We should
whether.
look at the bill
I
and
don't
see
think whether or
what-
not I don't know if our input's gonna make a difference, quite frankly. I mean, it's nice if we did it,
Right,
but
right.
to his point, if we
It's
didn't
nice
do
to
it-
support them, but not to the department's detriment, right?
So we'll get a little closer.
Right.
We can-
Okay, no problem.
we want to put it on to November.
If you're just
November?
willing to sign anything, I
No,
got
no,
a few
no.
things for you to sign, buddy.
No, I'll do bills. Okay, I'm okay with bills.
Couple checks.
No, not right now. All right, so that being said, any comments to the local, Steve?
Yes, I'd like to thank the commissioners for righting the wrongs of past boards. I was here for the 30-year temporary fix, and all subsequent boards said they were taxpayer-friendly, and they did nothing. If they were taxpayer-friendly, they would have fixed it 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And instead, they did nothing, and they're not held accountable. They get to walk away and not take any blame for the position you guys are in now. So I'd like to thank you for doing that, and also for the expansion of the membership and the assistant chief. The town has grown immensely in the last 20 years, and about time we brought up the staffing to meet the new burdens on the department. So thank all of you.
You're welcome. And you were here for the whole 30.
Every day.
Not every day,
That's
every
it.
every
As
fourth
well,
day.
as well.
Every fourth day.
All.
Every fourth
And,
day.
and he didn't put anybody in jeopardy by coming in ill. So
We'll get a little certificate for Steve when he retires that says.
I don't want
he never-
anything.
He never missed a day of work.
Perfect
My pension, I want my
attendance.
pension.
It is perfect attendance.
we'll vote on that.
Better not vote on it, they'll vote no.
Okay. Okay. It was just a joke.
Public comments, Michael?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask the chief, the generators down at Chester Heights.
Yes.
They be tested monthly under load?
They run every week on Tuesday, and it does it automatically, and it keeps it records internally, on the
That's
computer.
That's under load, right, Brian?
I'm not sure. Could probably look into that.
Under load would be like, make sure
Yeah,
the
no.
house is lit. the doors
My
are
understanding is when they do a load test, they actually come here with things that puts a load on the generator. I don't think it's done. It's not a load. I think it just runs, for 20, 25 minutes. It might be partial load, because when they do kick on, the lights flicker, you know, so whatever load is on the system at that time, it could be.
So maybe you
So-
can check into that, you know, just to make sure
Sure.
on that.
Yeah.
And another question, where would Bronxville's engine go when they close the house?
Well, I don't think we're gonna find available space in Bronxville, so they're probably gonna run out of headquarters here. So the truck will be here, and the engine 29 would be up here for the amount of time that the firehouse floor would cause the firehouse to be dangerous.
Did they give you any timeframe when?
Well, that would be when we hire a contractor.
Okay.
The engineers, you know, they could give you a guesstimate, but, you know, they don't know, is a contractor gonna have 20 guys on the
Right.
job or 3 guys on the job?
Okay.
You know, as Chester Heights was going on, sometimes there was a guy there by himself doing excavator work, and then sometimes it was like 15 guys working on the waterproofing and the concrete.
Right.
So it really depends when you hire the contractor, you know, how big his company is.
We need to know exactly what's wrong, right, too? You want to find out everything. We're not just going to do a small amount, right? Which is the problem at Chester Heights. Like, did a little bit here, fought over it, did a little bit, fought over it. 10 years later, I understand the wood pilings were put in, the supports were put in 25 or 30 years ago.
Brian, just another question I'd like to ask you.
Sure.
When will Chester Heights, did they give you any time frame that the house would be open for the engine to go back in?
So the next phase of the project is about to start. We had to have a permissive referendum. When we hired the contractor to do, there's still got to be work done. So they have to put in a handicap ramp to the front door. And then they have to renovate, the old deputy chief's office is going to become a ADA bathroom. The current bathroom is going to become ADA compliant. And they have to put in the heating system, which includes a HVAC unit up in the attic above the dormitory and a steam fire gas boiler down in the basement. So that contractor, as far as I know, hasn't started yet because he was waiting. I think it was October 13th was the end, or the October 14th was the end of the permissive referendum. So now that time has gone by, I believe he can start his work. So we can't move the guys in. Like, I would love to move them in as soon as the floor is done, because we have the dormitory and we have the apparatus floor, and there are bathrooms upstairs they could use. I'm just concerned with the amount of dust that they're going to create by gutting the bathroom. They're actually moving the wall between the bathroom and the deputy chief's office, and the deputy chief's office door is going to be closed, and they have to move it like 6 feet to the right, because where it is, you can't get a wheelchair in because there's going to be sinks and things like that in the way. So, so for that part of it, you know, I'm hoping, I don't know how long it takes to renovate a bathroom, but they did say the heating system could take up to 6 months to get. That's what he was being told by a supplier. So it'll be ready to go in June for the heating system. No, I'm being facetious. It's I don't have an exact date. You know, they're gonna, now that they have the contract and they can start the work, they're gonna order the materials and stuff. But he did say, I think the heat pump is gonna go up in the attic of the dormitory. It's gonna take a while. I think the steam boiler will be much more accessible. So the current radiators will be able to work. But for the, you know, that other unit, I think he did say there was a long lead time to get it. So, you know, all I can say is as soon as possible, but, you know, when they're cutting through the brick and concrete block wall, we're going to have so much dust in there, we're not going to be able to move in. So even though the floor will be ready, there's still other construction going on that's going to prevent us from moving in. So, I mean, fingers crossed, you know, December 31st. But, you know, again, I'll have to get a construction schedule from the contractor once they actually start doing work. So,
How long is the schoolhouse is going to?
I mean, they want us out of there yesterday because it's inconvenient for the Historical Society. But our current lease runs through February 28th of 2023. So I don't anticipate it going beyond that. I hope to be in there, like I said, hopefully by the end of the year. But again, it's going to depend on B&B Contracting or B&B Builders, whatever their formal name was, to get us a realistic construction schedule, which they should do as soon as they start the work. So.
And they have a punch list to complete too, I imagine.
Well, that's Vinco. So, you know, there's some outside grading that they have to take care of. So, yeah, there's stuff that Vinco will still have to do. But I think Vinco will be all done hopefully in a few weeks, you know, because they've already done the the epoxy floor. I think they said it was, Tim was saying that he thinks it was finished today, or Commissioner Laurie, I think, went by and
Yesterday.
looked like they were doing the top coat because they were
Yeah.
doing the texture so that it's a non-slip floor. So, you know, Vinco is just about done with their work, but it's going to be that next phase of the bathrooms and the ADA ramp and the heating systems being installed.
Well, living down there, the house is coming around. You can
Right,
see the
right.
door is up, it's
Yep.
protected.
Yep.
It's nice to see lights in the building at night on the outside. So hopefully, you know, the firefighters will have their quarters back and we'll have our engine back in.
Yep.
the quarters.
Yeah, COVID's delayed everything.
What's that?
It's COVID.
Chief,
COVID delayed everything.
I hope you get in there tomorrow, but.
I want to get in there because I don't want to leave a fire.
Can't have it both
truck
ways,
outside
Mike.
in the cold again. We have to move.
I thought you might appreciate that.
I agree with you 100%, Chief, but if they're gonna be doing bathrooms and all that, and there's gonna be dust in there, I don't want no one to get sick
No,
in there.
yeah, no, we
Please.
can't. Yeah, it's
We
not,
can't- we
they
we-
can't
we
move
can't-
back in
We
until.
can't let nobody go in there and sleep one night and they'll complain to you tomorrow morning.
But again, it
Come on,
shouldn't
give
take
me a
6
break.
months to do a
No,
two
no,
bathrooms.
I didn't
you
say
know.
that, but I'm just
Right.
saying, I don't want no one to go in
So-
there if there's gonna be dust particles
Right,
floating
right, right.
around and men chopping.
Yeah, they're gonna have to cut
Yeah.
through a concrete block wall.
Exactly.
You know, so.
All right, any comment, Mr. Fishy?
Oh, yeah.
You good? No?
Yeah.
Oh.
Why are we going down this road again with FOIL requests for the benevolent and stuff? We went down around this road 2 or 3 years ago.
I think
Why
a
are we
couple of
doing this
people were
again?
concerned about it, and it's a nice refresher. When did it last happen? 6
I think
years?
I was looking for this current
Yeah, that's all.
account values, current statements, that's all.
Why not?
Well, here we go, and I'm gonna tell you right now, you can send a letter, you can send, have your attorney send a letter. You get nothing from the benevolent. The Benevolent Association of the Town of Eastchester, which is us, is not FOIL requestable. No benevolent in the state of New York is FOIL requestable. So you're wasting time. Okay, now that comes from FASNY lawyers now who guide all benevolence in the state of New York. So if you want, we found that out after the last, fiasco that we had with what you want to know. So you're not entitled.
What happened the last time? I wasn't here, and I understand it was foiled, and then
Well, ask your buddy Dennis, he'll give you the update.
I'm just going to finish. I understand that there was a foil made
Correct,
a long time ago. A litigation ensued,
correct,
and then there was a Supreme Court judge that ordered you to do it.
correct. Because she didn't know the law either.
The judge.
Correct.
Did you go to the appellate division?
We didn't pursue it anymore. It was a waste of time.
And you produced stuff.
He got whatever he wanted and said he won, and that was
You
it.
produced stuff.
We gave him what he wanted.
Yes or no? It's just yes or no. Yes.
And that's
fine.
what
Yeah.
that's what he got.
So I think we're just asking for, the board will vote on it, and if the majority of the board says yes, do it, then we'll do it.
Go ahead. Vote on it.
Appreciate it though.
But I'm just saying, you're not gonna get information from the benevolent because it's not FOIL, what you call.
The paid personnel gets 45% of that money if you're not aware.
I just found that
No,
out.
I'm just saying.
I asked for the
They
order
get-
that
They get
nobody's procured that
45%
for
of
me.
that money, and I never heard anybody say that they were gonna foil the local for their.
I think that was tried this year, right?
I don't know.
Was that? I don't know.
Ex-firefighter ran along, if it was tried.
We're unfoilable also.
There you go. There you go.
I love it.
Ah, takes care of that.
I just have something I want to say to Commissioner Bryan. You're talking about COVID, okay?
I only threw that out there to get a huge smile on your face.
Well-
That was the only reason, and I just accomplished that tonight. One of the few things I've accomplished tonight.
Trying to, give me the zinger here.
No, not at all.
Okay?
I appreciate you coming.
If things were done right the first time.
I don't disagree.
okay, Things were done right the first time, like putting the Band-Aid on the wall and the nail and the duct tape.
I don't disagree with
we
you.
wouldn't have these
I don't
problems that we
disagree.
have now.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay, so, I have to say that to you,
I agree with you.
Let's do the right thing.
I agree.
Let's go forward, not backwards.
I agree
okay?
with you. I
All right?
agree. I agree with you. We're in agreement.
This isn't Mayberry. This is Eastchester.
Are we going to argue over the fact that we're in agreement? We're in agreement.
All right.
We're in agreement.
And there's nothing wrong with Mayberry or Mount Pilot, okay? They're great towns. but
Raleigh.
neither, okay? But let's go forward, all right?
I don't disagree with
Okay.
you. I don't
We
disagree
don't
with you.
close up at 5 o'clock and go home, just sit on the porch and have pumpkin pie. This fire department runs 24/7. These men and women do a great job
Yeah.
to
Damn
protect
right.
what?
They do a
Life
great job.
and property. Life and property.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't think
If
anybody.
Anybody thinks that they don't. then
Yeah, I
it's
don't
not-
think anybody said they do a bad
It's
job,
not a
Mike.
fool's paradise, okay? This is a working fire department that protects life and property. Town of Eastchester, Village of Bronxville, and the Village of Tuckahoe, plus the surrounding communities, okay? And we have a
Plus,
lot of things.
plus Scarsdale.
Plus the trans.
Let's keep it fair, right?
Yep.
Plus Scarsdale. We go to Scarsdale, right, Chief?
But we have a lot going on.
We'll help out. Scarsdale needs our help, we'll help them.
We've helped Scarsdale, and Scarsdale has come to our fires to help out. They have a fine fire department.
I agree, I
Okay.
agree.
Good job for their taxpayers.
Nobody's saying that they're not, but we have a lot going on in this town. We have a hospital, we have colleges, we have schools, we have senior citizen building, okay?
Three train
We have-
stations?
What's that?
3 train stations?
3 train stations. We have synagogues, we have also churches. You know, there's a lot going on, okay? And when something happens, who are we going to call? If there's an emergency, whether it'll be life emergency, a fire, we're going to call the fire department, right? In the same way,
No
if
doubt.
somebody's being robbed, who are we going to call? Now, Bonnie Fife, we're going to call the Great Eastchester Police Department, Bronxville Police Department, and Tuckahoe Police Department. All right, guys.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you for coming, Mike.
Sorry, Chief, real quick. In the back, there's an old boat and trailer or something? right?
Yes, yeah.
It's going to auction, no?
So, yeah, so I was given authority to auction it off on one of our, Auction International or
What does
one of
that,
the
what
other
does that
websites.
cost us?
So what happened was, before
auction?
that, they want you to take pictures, and they were specifically looking for serial numbers or anything on the trailer, and there's nothing on the trailer. It's obviously like a homemade thing. And also, the boat itself, when we went to, Timmy and I went to lift it up to take pictures of the trailer.
It's damaged, I think.
The hull is filled with water. So it's like the hull probably leaks, the air bladders leak.
So here's the thing. If I know somebody's willing to take it out of here for a couple $100,
Yeah,
You want me to take it out for nothing? For nothing.
Oh, you want
Whatever
for
the
nothing?
board is inclined
Is the motor
to do,
still,
I'm fine with
the
it.
motor still on it?
No, the motor, but we have 2 motors that we'll throw on it. That we need
Do you
to
want
get
it?
rid of.
LTVs.
They're
We don't have
like
to do this for
19
tonight, but we'll
50.
figure out how to get rid of it.
My point is, why go to auction? I'm sure many people out there would love to haul it away and throw a few $100 away for not an issue.
Sure.
So we don't have to auction, we don't have to, right?
No, if the
Alright,
board wants
that's-
to.
But you have to close the meeting so we can go home.
Yes, so on that note,
Please.
make a motion to close the meeting?
Well,
No,
no,
wait a second.
One quick thing is, do they have any candidates to become fire commissioner?
We're the last to know.
Okay.
I'm sure there's some scuttlebutt out there, but I know it.
It's going to be you, right, Mike? You sit right next to me and put your arm around me. Talk about Columbia.
No, that's the big thing. Every year is a big surprise. You know, who's talking to who's gonna. I have no idea personally.
Maybe just to remind the public, the materials are posted on the website too.
Yeah, I
If you're
saw
interested in
that.
reviewing it. All right. So everything's updated on the election page for the website.
I'll sign your petition, Mike.
Can they download the forms off the website, or they have to come get them in person?
No, they could download the
Okay.
forms. Yeah.
So like signature
You're
petitions?
welcome to stop by the office too. We have hard copies, but you could always download the form too.
What happens if none of the people in the community, or civilians, want to become fire commissioner? What happens?
We appoint you. We all voted on it.
Well, for the rules, it does have to be delivered by 4 p.m. to me. If
Right.
there's a filled out petition with the signatures and everything
Right.
as required, so then you could be a candidate on the ballot.
But if no one runs at all,
I think the
Right.
board
If no
can.
one runs at all.
I think the board can appoint
They
somebody,
kind of point.
right?
I
I think that's. I think I read that.
I know that.
Yeah.
They're gonna point it. I think if someone resigns from the board.
Steve?
That never happened.
You'll be retiring around
Vote
then.
for it, Jamie.
I'm not sure, Michael, if we run one short or we appoint. It's
I think
you
I
have to look
read
into it.
somewhere you can the board appoints somebody at least for a year. provisionally.
Or, yeah. I
And
don't
then,
know.
yeah.
I know if somebody leaves, I think you can make an appointment, but I'm not sure, I've
We
never
did-
heard of
we did.
nobody running, because if they know they can walk right into the position if nobody's running,
We did
I think
that.
you would get somebody to
that.
sign
We've
up.
had two
for it.
candidates here that came in,
They appointed his wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the board want me to connect with Cheryl on this item, just in case?
If you talk to him past, you could ask him.
I think afterwards we can find out.
But I'm sure someone's going to come forward. Someone's going to be somebody looking for the glory.
It's usually the last day, the last hour of the last day.
Yeah.
They get a knock on the door. I'm here with my signature petition.
I can attest to the fact it's a great job.
Wait, so
Well paid.
before we close, Commissioner Van
Oh,
Loon,
Yeah, I have a few things I'd like to
I apologize.
say, if that's okay. Just my activities for the month. September 29th, attended the closing ceremonies for the 9/11 exhibit at Lake Isle, along with the other FD members, and the members also assisted in the breaking down of the exhibit. On October 2nd, ran in the Eastchester 5K race, came in fourth in my age group. October 4th, attended the Tuckahoe Village Board meeting along with the chief, Commissioners Carlo and Laurie, as they were awarding a plaque to firefighter Polero and Tuckahoe and EVAC members for a childbirth they assisted in. October 9th, marched in the Columbus Day Parade with the fire department. October 11th, attended the Bronxville Village Board meeting along with the chief, Commissioners Carlo and Laurie as well. And October 16th, attended the wake for retired firefighter Lawrence Mignon, and I'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting in memory of firefighter Mignon.
Second.
What about the vote? Get rid of it as you see fit. And also, the chief mentioned this before also, that the department's going to be doing some high-angle rope training at 100 Columbus Avenue on October 24th at approximately 10 a.m. If anybody from the public is around in the area and they want to go check it out, stop by. That's it.
Can I speak?
Sure, of course.
You finished one?
Yep.
I see we got a letter from a citizen, don't like the taxes going up, neither do I. And I agree, I don't want my taxes going up either. I never saw them go down, but 20 years ago, things were a lot cheaper. And as time goes on, everything goes up the ladder. We could see the cost in our food, we could see the cost in our gas, we could see the cost in cars, and our apparatus. There's nothing we can do. I don't think anybody on this board wanted it to go up either. But that's the way life goes. But on October 9th, the day we had the Columbus Day Parade, the night before, we had a family reunion. And a lot of my nieces and nephews and my grandchildren wanted me to take them to the firehouse. And we went to the Tuckahoe Firehouse on Underhill Street because all the family said that's their firehouse. They're from Tuckahoe. And Lieutenant Birnbaum and firefighter Antonio Sierra pulled out the apparatus and gave the family a full demonstration as if they were in a school showing the kids. And not only did the kids enjoy it, the grown-ups did, the older nieces and nephews, that they're calling me the senior citizen now. And I remember when I used to carry them around, but they all enjoyed it. And my hat's off to those two men, chief. They sure showed their responsibilities, their ego. They were happy to take pictures with the kids. They made the kids sit in the rigs. They brought all the equipment out, told them all the different types of tools we had, Halligan tools, spanner wrenches, showed them the air tanks. And a good 45 minutes and the kids were really happy. And in order to get them there, we used the Tuckahoe trolley. Trolley was full. And they took pictures with the firemen, and the firemen made them put their helmets on and coats on, and the young fellas really got a big hand, so my applaud to them, Chief. You trained them well.
I'll let Lieutenant Greenbaum and firefighter Chiaro know your kind words.
Yes, thank you, I appreciate it, and I just hope everyone has a safe and healthy and happy Halloween. And watch where you take your children, hold on to them, it's dark, carry a flashlight, please. And one last thing, I know I'm always repeat it, I think I had Captain Tomasini take a picture of a fire hydrant in Tuckahoe where the business put their garbage out and you could barely see the fire hydrant. God forbid if there was a fire down there on Lake Avenue, all the garbage was piled right on top, around, in front of the fire hydrant. Please, don't do that. It's very, very dangerous. It just takes more time for the fireman to get that out of the way before he hooks up and has to put that thing, that fire hydrant on. Please, don't block the fire hydrant, even with the leaves. That's all I got, Commissioner.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Mention in the leaves, don't park on the leaf piles as well, because the catalytic converters, if you don't have an electric vehicle, can be super hot and can catch the leaves on fire and start a car fire. So please don't throw your leaves on top of the fire hydrant, or if you have gardeners, don't allow them to put the leaves on top of the fire hydrant, and don't park your vehicles on top of the leaf piles.
All right, so on that note, we're gonna have a quick moment of silence for Lawrence Mignon, and then we're gonna close the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Everybody?
Thank you.
Chief?